There's no experience you're selling. You're selling to them a scary lion. And you're telling them to come and watch. Who cares about a scary lion in the world anymore? People want to have a soft, luxurious life. Right? Nobody wants to leave the comfort of their burrow in London or Spain to come and see a wild jungle with a lion. That's what we are selling as tourism. So our numbers are going down every day. In fact, the number of tourists you're receiving are less than the number of people visiting a village in Italy. Once you make a wrong choice, you let somebody understand even what is called the flow of money and how an economy turns. The consequences are a wasted 5 years. And in those wasted 5 years, you're talking of deaths, destruction of livelihoods, social breakdown. And those are 5 years which can never be recovered. You know what Kenya Kwanza is doing is they're looking for what you call plausible excuses to explain their lack of capacity. Tell me, which time in the history of the world was there no war at any point? The Israel-Palestinian conflict has been there since 1948. Didn't start last week.
Well, a very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to this conversation. Remember, here, this is another episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Such a pleasure to have you on board. My name is Evans Okinyi. This good morning, I'm joined by Wakili Willis Otieno. He's a constitutional lawyer. Remember, he's the deputy party leader, Sabina party that is led by Honorable Jimmy Wanjigi. Wakili, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Welcome to the Candid Talk.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you again and host you on such an important platform. Of course, we do always keep it simple, and here we have conversations that we do hope will actually shape the kind of governance and leadership that we're witnessing in the country. Now, I want us to look at certain things that are actually happening within right now. The King of England, definitely King Charles III, is in the country for a visit, this kind of 4-day visit. I would just wonder, as a number of Kenyans are wondering, of what importance or significance do you think such kind of visits actually portend to this country?
In my view, there is no relation, there is no significance or import that Kenyans are going to benefit from this visit. If we had a strong cultural relationship with the United Kingdom, maybe you'll say that there will be some significant benefits. But as it is, the king cannot even sign a single agreement on behalf of the United Kingdom government. The government is run by a prime minister. So the king is purely a ceremonial head of state. He is just a holder of a relic of where they were before. But in my view, fundamentally, it is unfortunate that the king is here and we are not discussing issues of historical injustices that was meted out by the British colonialists when they were here. Because what we should be asking the king today is that the empire grew out of our resources and the empire was very brutal to our Africans. So how much of much reparations is the United Kingdom willing to pay back to those who suffered or bore the brutality of the emperor? And while at it, you've built, created one of the most powerful and economically strongest nations, now monarchies in the world, while those who contributed to it, like Kenyans, there's no compensation that they're getting out of all this. So the conversation should be, if it would have been meaningful, if on the table was a discussion on how Africans, and particularly Kenyans, are going to claim for reparations for the atrocities committed by the British colonialists that was headed by the monarchy at the time when they came into this republic. And these are genuine conversation. No, we cannot run away from it. Many Kenyans lost their lives. Our ancestors lost their lives. They were displaced. Their livelihoods were disrupted. You know, once you disrupt someone's life, their way of life, they can never recover. And the consequences of that brutal invasion of our country are felt to date. So it can only be fair if we start our own conversation. The Palestinians having their conversation with the Israeli on the question of occupation of the Gaza Strip. We should also be having our own conversation with the British on how we can get reparations for the atrocities that were committed on us during the colonial period, and how much can they pay. And this is what can make these two countries work closely together. Because otherwise, as it is, they are treating us as slaves.
The government is talking of having these conversations and actually trying to strengthen the bilateral ties between these countries, of course, saying for mutual benefit of us all. A number of things are supposed to be discussed there, things to do with climate change, things to do with technology and all that, and how to actually move forward as a country. Now, and here we are with you saying that is not actually the right person to discuss these issues with.
He cannot sign any agreement on behalf, I mean, unless you want to use him as an ambassador to champion climate change. He cannot sign any agreement on behalf of the United Kingdom. He cannot, because when it comes to issues of governance, now you're talking governance, it's the Prime Minister. So unless it was Sunak who was coming, then those are the kind of things we can be discussing. But if you are discussing the same with Prince Charles, it's ceremonial. Okay. Unless you want to make him a goodwill ambassador of climate change and as a lobbyist, yeah, then maybe that's what you can discuss with him. But he can't commit to the United States, the United Kingdom government on anything. And even if he signed any piece of paper, that agreement is not even worth a piece of paper it is written on. Unless, as I said, you are engaging him as a goodwill ambassador, as a lobbyist, based on his stature, his standing as a monarch from a respected or a high value monarchy. Maybe as a voice in a room that you'll want him to advocate your issues. Maybe that kind of engagement. But if you think that he's going to commit the United Kingdom government on anything here, please, let's be serious.
and why are you bringing about the issue of compensation if you're saying that?
Of course, we should tell the monarchy to go and lobby for compensation to be paid. Of course, they will not sign to pay, but we can put the monarchy to sign to be a lobbyist for reparations. So that is something that the monarchy can lobby for. And because the monarchy was in charge of the empire when all these atrocities were being conducted. So the monarchy we should be signing an agreement with the monarchy to be our number one lobbyist for reparations from the United Kingdom government, so that they pay for the atrocities committed against the people of Kenya. There is a book called The British Gulag, written by a Briton, who documents the tribulations that Kenyans went through, the Mau Mau experience, the kind of concentration camps that people are being held in. Nairobi here was like a war zone. Our people were taken to go and fight in wars they knew nothing about. If Africans went to fight in the First World War, the ones who went to fight in the Second World War, have they been compensated? Even their living survivors, have they been compensated for their grandparents or ancestors who died in those wars?
Of course, that compensation has not been done yet.
It has not been done. Those are not our wars.
Okay.
In fact, if you go to the war memorial cemeteries, you see the way they take good care of their dead. Go to here in Gong Road. Look at the war memorial cemetery in Gong Road. Even now it is taken care of. Even the grass is green, even if it is drought season. But our dead ancestors, nobody even knows how some of them are buried. We can't even trace them. I mean, this is a conversation we should start with the monarchy.
Okay.
And you turn the monarchy into a lobbyist
for
the UK government to sign those agreements.
So in short, Wakili, you're saying that there isn't any legally binding agreement that the country can sign with King Charles the Third right now.
Unless you want to engage as a Commonwealth. Then within the Commonwealth, because there's what we call the Commonwealth Association, which brings together all the former British colonies. So it's a Commonwealth thing, maybe. You can get something. But government to government, bilateral, no.
Let's look at it this way. Now, let's leave that aside, but then so many things are happening in the country at the same time. Of course, right now the president is in the country and he's actually been out there traveling, he's proclaimed himself as the #1 ambassador of this country. The country is in some sort of turmoil because people are still grappling with the high cost of living. These are discussions that keep on recurring day in, day out. A number of people are crying outside there. Now, I want to get it from your own perspective in terms of looking at it 1 year down the line since Kenya Kwanza actually took over. Do you think that they've done much to improve the lives and livelihoods of Kenyans here? And then tell me something about of course, the foreign trips that the president has had. A number of Kenyans have questioned these trips, but then he's come to defend himself, saying that very well that he's actually doing his job And these kind of trips are very beneficial to the country. Tell me what you think.
To answer your questions, number one, ask any Kenyan on the street today, any reasonable man on the street, is the quality of life better this year, on this date this year, than it was on this date last year? All Kenyans will agree in unison that life has become tougher for all of us, save for those who are living off our lagis, those who are enjoying government lagis, and living off taxpayers' money. Are the ones who may say things have changed for them. Those who are almost bankrupt last year, now they're in government. We are seeing them with fuel guzzlers and buying expensive shoes all over. Those ones will say everything is okay. But the vast majority of Kenyans, life is more unbearable this year than it was last year. And you measure government based on the quality of life that it promises and delivers to its citizens. Whatever Kenya Kwanza promised to the people of Kenya and what it has delivered are totally different. If you look even at the interventions, I remember in February this year, President Ruto said that the dollar will come down to 120 or even 115. That time the dollar was 133, right? And the intervention using the G2G oil was meant to deal with the question of the price of oil, and it was also meant to deal with the dollar demands, the weakening of the shilling. We are now almost 7 months since that time. The shilling is now trading at 156 to the US dollar, so it has lost value. The price of petrol at the time and today, we are now buying petrol at 217 Kenya shillings. That time it was around 180 Kenya shillings. And I assure you, by February next year, 1 liter of petrol will be selling at a minimum 300 Kenya shillings. In fact, on the 14th of November, this coming month, 14th of November, the price of petrol will increase by between 7 to 10 shillings. On the 14th of December, it will increase again by between 10 shillings to 15 shillings. So you are guaranteed that, and once the price of fuel goes up, it affects everything. It is translated to the cost of whatever you're buying in the market. And as the shilling, as the cost of fuel is going up, the shilling is also weakening further. The shilling is weakening further in the sense that you are buying your dollars in US dollars, not Kenya shillings, right? And when you have a weak currency and you need dollars, the market will respond by giving you a more expensive rate. So you'll be buying dollars at a more expensive rate because you need the dollars, you don't have them. And you're not producing anything that is making you giving you a competitive edge in the global market. We are now a net importer of goods and services. We're relying on other people to feed us or to sustain this country. And that is Kenya Kwanza's matrix. Because they believe you have to import refined edible oil, not crude. You have to import sugar. You have to import maize. You have to import everything for Kenya Kwanza. Even that which you can produce. What are we exporting? Look at the coffee sector, the tea sector. They are all in shambles at the moment. We are not earning any revenue. Look at tourism. I always say those who come to Kenya as tourists are not tourists. Those are their devils. Because there's no luxury promise that you're giving anybody to come to Kenya. There's no experience you're selling. You're selling to them a scary lion. And you're telling them to come and watch. Who cares about a scary lion in the world anymore? People want to have a soft, luxurious life. Right? Nobody wants to leave the comfort of their burrow in London or Spain to come and see a wild jungle with a lion. That's what we are selling as tourism. So our numbers are going down every day. In fact, the number of tourists we are receiving are less than the number of people visiting a village in Italy per year. Right? Now, what am I saying? We are losing all our number one, what have been traditionally our largest earners of foreign exchange. In fact, today it's more of the diaspora remittances that is the largest earner of forex. It should not be that. It should be that you're producing something that you're selling in the national market that is giving you enough forex to cushion your currency and to be able to buy whatever else you need. We don't have that. So the shilling will, before March next year, we'll be buying $1 will be buying it at 200 Kenya shillings minimum. In fact, by end of next month, if the shilling has not hit 160 to the dollar, I'll be surprised. I'll say my economics are wrong. But it's heading there, comfortably, guaranteed. And that is the pain of Kenya Kwanza. And they have no solution. In fact, if you listen to their chief economist, David Ndii, he essentially, in a public communication, he has said, If you want his honest opinion, this patient is in the ICU, and don't ask him if he'll come out alive or dead. You form your own opinion. But he said it's in the ICU. If you want his honest opinion, he can't guarantee you. So they are clueless, and they're not able to address the challenges of this country, of the economy. Then you asked me a question about the president's foreign travels. You know, when a president is elected, he's elected to serve the people of that country, not to be a tourist. We have a ministry fully staffed called the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That ministry has technocrats within it. That ministry has ambassadors in their ministries. Those ambassadors, their tasks are to create relationships between Kenya and the host countries and to market the country, whatever it is we can sell to the host countries. Now, if the president takes over the role and functions of all these officers, what time will he perform other functions of the president? Right? Because if he's the one who says that I'm the one who's going to market the country, so what are your ambassadors doing? What are those commercial attaches in the respective embassies doing? What is your Minister of Foreign Affairs doing? Right? And when a president walks out to go and visit another country, they should tell us in advance that the president is making this trip to this country. He's going to sign the following agreements. This will be the benefits to the people when he comes back. Right? And now there was an attempt. That's what Mo used to do. So there was an attempt when he went to China. There was a press release, and they had said he's going to sign an agreement for a loan of $10 billion US dollars, 1 trillion Kenya shillings, right? SGR from Dukamoja to Malaba, right? And when he comes back from China, I mean, everything will be sorted. Now he went to China. Have you seen the report card of the Chinese trip? Of course, the Chinese did not sign that agreement. $10 billion US dollar was not given to Kenya. There is no SGR from Dukamoja to Malaba, right? That's accountability. They should give, when the Constitution Article 10 talks about accountability, President Ruto owes this to Kenyans to explain his Chinese trip. What agreement did you sign with the government of China? Right? What is the commitment? How will it benefit us? There was none. If there was any commitment, it was just to pay, give some soft loan to pay off some pending bills to Chinese contractors who we are not paying, we've not been paying. He went to Congo, Brazzaville after that. What was that meeting about? What was the value of that meeting to Kenya? Did he go as president of Kenya or as chair of the AU climate change summit? So we tell us, he's gone to the United States of America. He was staying there he stayed in the US for almost 14 days, 15 days, when he went for UNGA. Didn't even meet with Joe Biden. I mean, let's be serious. Your president in another country for 14 days, and you don't meet your host, only to tell us 1 week later, because Joe Biden has called you on a phone, that becomes the big news. So bilaterals are discussed, and by the time the heads of state meet, it's purely ceremonial. It means you had worked on the paperwork. Technical teams had worked on the paperworks. By the time you are going, you're just going for the ceremony. Or they're coming just for the ceremony of signing. But it seems he's going to be doing these discussions himself to initiate them. That is why he's not meeting the leaders. And we are not getting anything tangible out of this engagement, in my view. So the president needs to refocus, in my view. But maybe it's his style, but he needs to refocus. We did not elect an ambassador at large.
The president has talked of austerity measures, and of course we've seen a lot of measures being put in place to actually curb on foreign travel, especially by various government officials. And therein, the only question that Kenyans are now asking is if at all it amounts to perhaps double speed. Now that when it comes to the State House, they don't see those austerity measures being implemented. But then on the other side, the other ministries, we've seen the kind of measures that have been put in place. Are you convinced in any way?
This government and austerity on the same sentence? I don't think so. I mean, look at when Kibaki was doing austerity measures. Kibaki rarely traveled out of the country. And when he did, it was for a specific function. And you could tell, they will explain to you, he's going to this country, this is what the meeting is about, this is the benefit to the country. Look even at his ministers. Those days, ministers used to have small cars, one bodyguard, driver, bodyguard, minister at the back. I think it was only the prime minister then and the prime minister, the vice president, and I think the minister of interior who had chase cars. Today, this country today, it's like people are competing at the size of a convoy. Even members of parliament, because you're a chair of a parliamentary committee, you have a convoy. 3 cars clearing the road. You don't even know who you are clearing the road for nowadays. Ministers have fleets, and these are fuel guzzlers. So there's nothing austere about this government. This government is more known for its ostentatious spending that is almost gluttonous, right? And you see at the allocation they give into their offices, and there's no value add. How much they are allocating, the supplementary budget came out yesterday. Look at how much they've allocated to their offices. How much have they allocated to sectors that can spur production in this country? Almost negligible. In fact, in this country, it's a sin to be a manufacturer. Because if you try to manufacture anything, to produce anything, you will be hit with taxes from here to Timbuktu and back, right? And you get nothing out of your plant or machinery.
Okay.
This government loves more foreign companies that produce goods in their own countries.
Okay.
Right? That is why I always say, if you have Bidco, you have Pwani, you have Menengai, that import crude palm oil to Kenya. They have both set up plant and machinery here in Kenya. They're employing Kenyans. They are paying tax. They are paying duty, import duty, when they bring the crude palm oil. They're employing over 10,000 people as a sector. Then you decide that you're going to give some businessmen, traders, licenses to import refined edible oil. Refined. And they're importing it duty-free. Now, Bidco, Menengai, Pwani, and the others had took time to set up a plant and machinery. They have paid you import duty. They've employed your people, your Kenyans. These Kenyans are paying pay as you earn. These Kenyans are spending in your economy, consumption tax, VAT. You're actually collecting 50 billion from this sector per year. But then, you're coming up with an intervention that disenfranchises and almost collapses the entire sector by giving preferential treatment to a trader to go to Indonesia or Malaysia and import refined edible oil to come and sell to us here.
Okay.
Right? And he's doing it duty-free. He's not employing any single Kenyan factory. They are not consuming in this economy. You're just giving jobs to Indonesians and Malaysians at the expense of Kenyans. So, one of the 1,000 ways to die in this country is to be a manufacturer. Right? Because Kenya Kwanza guarantees you they will collapse you. Is that how you want to run a country?
We are in this dire situation, Wakili. The government is talking of other external factors leading us here where we are, talking of the Russia-Ukraine war and its impacts therein, talking of the kind of war that we are witnessing between Israel and Palestine regarding the Gaza Strip therein, and all these factors that are saying that they're actually contributing to the kind of economic turmoil that the country is actually facing right now. But then we find ourselves in this situation, and the country is here, and I'm here with you. You're saying that these things have nothing to do with the country, and you're saying here it's the kind of economic policies that we are making that are leading us to where we are as a country. And the question would be, as we have a government that is functional right now, what can the government actually do to ensure that Kenyans are taken out of the kind of economic oblivion that they are finding themselves into?
You know what Kenya Kwanza is doing is they are looking for what you call plausible excuses to explain their lack of capacity. Tell me, which time in the history of the world was there no war at any point? The Israel-Palestinian conflict has been there since 1948. Didn't start last week. It's been there since 1948. It ruptures at any given time, but it's always been there. Right? So you cannot tell me Saudi Arabia has been having its own issues in Yemen. That there's been no government in Yemen for now almost 5 years. Right? Which oil do we import from Israel or Gaza? Saudi Arabia issues in Yemen here didn't stop when Uhuru was president. Are still getting oil at a better price. And there was a fight there. There was even a fight in Libya, right? That led to the overthrow of Gaddafi. Didn't affect. I mean, those are excuses. Someone just pointing you, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. But there have been wars at any given time in our lifetime. There's been a conflict somewhere. But that has never affected the fundamentals of the country. Kenya Kwanza is refusing to deal with the fundamentals. What is the fundamental problem in this country today? That fundamental problem is, I ask you, take your budget books. Just take your budget books, then look at expenditure. Outflows. 70% of your revenue. This is as per the controller of budget herself. 70% of what you earn, you collect as tax, goes to debt finance. Right? You are left with 30%. So it's like you've collected 100 Kenya shillings, 70 shillings you are going to pay your loan.
Pay debts.
You are left with 30 shillings.
To run the country with that.
To run the country. Of these 30 shillings, you need 35 shillings to pay rent, operation and maintenance, O&M, right? So it means you're already at negative 5. You need 30 shillings to pay salaries. Negative 35. You need 30 shillings to pay counties.
That is negative 65.
What does it mean? It means you are going back to borrow. So it was 70 shillings last month. Because you are taking more loans and interest payments, your debt portfolio is increasing. So it was 70, now it may be 72. And the more you borrow, 75, even up to 80. Right? Now, if you want to deal with the problem, you don't look at the 30%. You look at the 70. This is the problem. This is what is pressing you. And as Safina, led by Jimmy Wanjigi, we had said, the problem of Kenya is this debt. Open these debt books, do an audit. And we've done our audit. We found what is called odious debt. Kenyans are paying for an odious debt, illegal debts. And if you remove this debt burden from Kenyans, even the appetite to increase your tax revenue will go down. We don't need to increase VAT on fuel. You don't need to increase pay as you earn for those who earn more than 500,000 to 35%. It will have to come down. You'll boost production and consumption. Right? So deal with the debt. That is what they don't want. But unfortunately, this debt is not waiting for them to deal with it. The debt is dealing with them. And the sooner they confront the debt issue, the better for this country. Because the consequences of a failure to look at this debt question, we are now staring at a high possibility of what is called a debt default. And the countries which have had debt defaults has not been good. Sri Lanka, Ghana, Lebanon, Greece, Argentina. Zambia now, to a small extent, having the debt problem. But those countries, the quality of life has not been good. The consequence of a default has not been good to the people. So Kenya Kwanza thinks their response to the problems of Kenyans is to increase more tax. They are increasing tax. They hope to collect more money because they are only left with 30 shillings. So they think if they increase tax, they'll increase the base. Now they'll have more money to spend. No. That cannot be the solution because you only also collect more tax based on consumption. If people are able to produce and consume more, then you collect money. But the moment you are trying to squeeze tax out of them, when there is no production going on, you are going to see what is called the law of diminishing returns. The tax revenue starts going down. You increase VAT on fuel, the car owners leave their cars. People start carpooling, some walk to work, some opt for public transport. Public transport increase the fares, people opt to walk. They don't use public transport as they were using before. The end result is that if people are buying 1,000 liters of 100,000 liters of fuel last month, this month they will now buy only 80,000 liters. Okay? Because now so you thought you were going to collect more with this increased VAT, you're collecting less because consumption has reduced. So we need to address the debt question. And if the debt question is well addressed as we have proposed, based on our forensic audit, Kenyans will have a big load lifted off their back.
Okay.
We'll be able to get a breather because we'll be able to flesh out the illegal debts. And you ask people to take responsibility for the illegal debts.
Okay.
Mozambique went through this process. The tuna bond, which were illegal, they were taken without the approval of their parliament as provided in their laws. And they went up to the constitutional court. The court said no, that debt is illegal. It was $2 billion US. When Mozambique declared that debt odious, it was painful, but it saved the country. They're now breathing.
Okay. Okay, Lee, as we wind up this show, what is your final word that we...
My final word to the people of Kenya is that we have to tighten our seatbelts. This is the time when it's going to be tough on everybody. The quality of life is going to drastically drop.
Okay.
The economic pain that Kenyans are going to go through is going to teach us a lesson on politics, that you need to interrogate leaders on their understanding of the economy before you elect anybody to office. Starting from an MCA to member of parliament, to senator, to governor, to president ultimately. Because once you make a wrong choice, you elect someone and understand even what is called the flow of money and how an economy turns. The consequences are a wasted 5 years. And in those wasted 5 years, you're talking of deaths, destruction of livelihoods, social breakdown. And those are 5 years which can never be recovered.
Okay.
The time will come when I will come back to pitch as the next Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. And I believe the jury is already out there between myself and Gachagua. Who deserves to be the Deputy President of Kenya? Jimmy will deal with Ruto. I will deal with Gachagua.
So we wait for you in 2027. You'll be there on the ballot.
I'll be there on the ballot. Whichever time the elections come. And I do believe that if it comes understanding and representing the issues of this nation, can Gachagua even have a conversation on AI? And how AI is going to revolutionize this country. Right? That is the future. I represent the future of this nation. I represent the dreams and the aspirations of the young people. What Kenya we want to be, not the repressive Kenya that they've come from. And I'll ask Kenyans at that point to interrogate me based on my knowledge and capacity, to interrogate their issues, to analyze them and proffer practical solutions, not lofty promises, against my opponent or my competitor, DP Gachagua. That's the only person I'm competing against. I'm competing against DP Gachagua, and my candidate is Jimmy Wanjigi.
Your candidate is Jimmy Wanjigi.
Jimmy Wanjigi.
President, this time we wish you all the best. We do hope that you'll make it on the presidential ballot in 2027.
Yes.
But here we are to stay. Definitely we'll invite you back here so that we have these conversations here. These are informed conversations that we do hope actually will help us, even as we continue to monitor what is taking place on the ground, and still looking at what the president is doing so that we do not get actually escaped by anything. Thank you so much, Wakili, for making time for us. We really honor your presence here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel, and particularly on the Candy Talk. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are watching us, we've been having this conversation with Wakili Willis Otieno. Remember, he's the Deputy Party Leader, Sabina party that is led by Honorable Jimmy Wanjigi, and we've been having this conversation here with him. You can actually weigh in and tell us what you think about what is taking place in this country with regards to the conversation that we've just had here. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi. Thank you for watching.